Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How's life? We do hope that all of our viewers right now have a very nice, very good day. Amen. Today we are from the fifth group. We are going to presenting to you the fifth part of quantitative class, that is collecting quantitative data. And the presenters today are me, myself, Binti Roifatusiam. I'm going to presenting the first part, and my friends Mega Sanja Imelda, she will presenting the second part. Okay, what is collecting quantitative data? What is that? So let's get started. Okay, before going deeper, these chapters will answer 4 questions. The first is, what are the 6 major methods of data collection? And the second is, what method or methods of data collection will allow me to obtain the information I need to answer my research question? And the third is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the different methods of data collection? And the fourth is, how do I use these methods of data collection in my research? So the following list shows the six most common methods of data collection used by educational researchers. The first is task, the second is questionnaire, the third is interview, the fourth is focus group, and the fifth observation, and the last is constructed secondary and existing data. So let's talk about the first part, that is task. The first is tasks. Tasks are commonly used in quantitative research to measure attitude, personality, self-perception, aptitude, and performance of research participants. Although many tasks are available for use, for example, standardized tasks of intelligence and personality, achievement, preschool, aptitude, and diagnosis tasks, experimental researchers sometimes need to construct their own tests to measure very specific constructs that are operationalized in unique ways. And experimental researchers might design a test procedure to measure a cognitive or memory process, or to measure participants' response time to a mental activity. For example, a researcher studying particular type of mathematical story problem might develop a test that deals specifically with those problem types. The point is that when a researcher is looking at the manipulation of instructional content or context, tasks usually need to be tailored to the content or task. Note that even though such experimental constructed tests are not norm for specific population, the researcher is obliged to do his or her best to find ways to affirm the reliability and validity of the assessment. Is technology and tasks. Most tasks used in research can be administered in group situation, and these tasks are typically administered on computers by the researchers. A newer approach that is sometimes used entails administrating the test online. For example, when all of the material can be programmed, an experiment can be conducted over the internet rather than in a laboratory. You should determine what mode of administration will work best and most efficient in your research study. Advantages of computer testing are ease of administration and the ability to program complex sequence of questions. A key weakness of internet testing is that you might not know for sure who is taking the test and what other activities the participant is engaging in that might affect his or her performance. The next is questionnaire. A questionnaire is a self-report data collection instrument that each research participant completes as a part of research study. Researchers use questionnaire to obtain information about thought, feeling, attitude, belief, values, perception, personality, and behavior intention of research participants. In other words, researchers attempt to measure many different kinds of characteristics using questionnaire. The next is technology and questionnaire. The majority of time, the questionnaire is administered online because of the many advantages of online survey research. You can see that there are free software package that you might want to use if you conduct an internet survey. It is called Google Forms. You can use the software in writing your questionnaire, sending it out to your participant in an email, and saving the result in your Google account. Questionnaires are also used in laboratory research, and in those cases, they are usually computer administered. Questionnaire can also be administered individually or in a group as a paper and pencil test. The printed out questionnaire are completed by the participant and physically handed back to the researchers. The next is interview. An interview is a data collection method in which an interviewer, the researcher, or someone who working for the researchers asks several questions of an interviewee. The research participant, that is, the interviewer, collects the data from the interviewee who provides the data. Some question who might come up is like, anything else? Any other reason? Any others? How do you mean? Could you tell me more about your thinking on that? Would you tell me what you have in mind? What do you mean? Why do you feel that way? Which would be closer to the way you feel? Next is technology and interviews. Interviews are often conducted over the telephone using a computer assisted telephone interview or CITI system, which is programmable software into which researchers input the interview protocol along with its skip sequences. The telephone interviewer simply reads the script and enters the answer provided by respondent and produce as the output a data file that can be input easily into standard statistical software such as SPS, Excel. For data analysis, some CITI systems also provide basic statistical output. Interviews can also be conducted by the researchers over the internet. Software such as GoToMeeting and Zoom are very helpful, and the interviewer or an interview can see each other and interact and develop the report. Goal of quantitative interview is to standardize what is presented to the interviewees. Standardization has been achieved when what is said to all interviewees is the same or as similar as possible. The key idea here is that quantitative research wants to expose its participants to the same stimulus so that the result will be comparable. Not surprisingly, quantitative interview result is mostly quantitative data that are later analyzed using quantitative statistical procedure. The reason why we say mostly is that quantitative interview protocol often include a few open-ended items. If an open-ended question is asked in a quantitative interview, however, it is asked in exactly the same way for each participant in the study. Okay, thank you. That's all from me, Binti Raifatusiam, and the next part will be.
Okay, the next point that we're going to discuss is focus group. And before I'm going to do what I'm going to be doing now, I am Mega Sanjay Imelda as the next presenter. So let's go back with our point. A focus group here is a group interview of approximately 6 to 12 people who share similar characteristics or common interests. It is the type of group process in which moderator or facilitator that working for the researcher and then leads a discussion with a small group of individuals to examine in detail how the group members think and feel about a topic. So it is called as a focus group because the moderator keeps the individuals in the group focused on the topic that being discussed. And also, it usually used to collect qualitative data. However, it is still possible to have focus group as data collection in quantitative research. Then, how do you conduct a focus group? Okay, the first one, you will need a facilitator, note taker, and technician. The facilitator here guides the group through the discussion and keeps the group focused on the topics for discussion. And then the note taker is an observer and does not interact with the group. Meanwhile, the technician is responsible for recording the focus group. And then the second thing is focus groups can be conducted in person or even in teleconference. Then focus groups typically last about 60 until 90 minutes. Then focus groups needs to be appropriate for the type of participant in the group, which means the questions and the manner in which the group is facilitated will vary based on the type of participants. Now here the advantages on the focus groups. The first one, it is quick and relatively easy to set up. The second is the group dynamic can provide useful information that individuals' data collection does not provide, and also it is useful in gaining insight into a topic that may be more difficult to gather through other data collection methods. Okay, so what are the disadvantages of focus groups? The first one is it is susceptible to facilitator bias. The second one is the discussion can be dominated or sidetracked by a few individuals. The third is data analysis is time consuming and needs to be well planned in advance. The fourth is does not provide a valid information at the individual level, while the fifth is the information is not representative of other group. Okay, the next method of data collection is observation. Observation is defined as the watching of behavioral patterns of people in certain situations to obtain information about the phenomenon of interest. The observer should attempt to unobtrusive so as not to affect what is being observed. There are two types of observation as data collection. Those are quantitative observation and qualitative observation. However, let us keep the part of qualitative and focus on the quantitative observation. Talking about the quantitative observation, it is an objective collection of data which is primarily focused on numbers and values, and it is suggest associated to or depicted in terms of a quantity. So the result of quantitative observation are derived using statistical and numerical analysis methods. It implies observation of any entity that can be associated with a numeric value such as age, shape, weight, volume, scale, etc. Then here we are in the quantitative observation characteristics. So as you can see, there are 11 characteristics of quantitative observation. Number 1 is accuracy, number 2 is constant result, and number 3 is sample creation, number 4 scientific research, number 5 is bias-free results, and etc. The last major method of data collection is constructed, secondary, and existing data. The constructed data here are things produced by your research participants during the research study such as drawing, paintings, diaries, recordings, videos, and etc. And it is used in a quantitative, qualitative, and mixed research. Then the secondary and existing data are data that were collected, recorded, or even left behind at an earlier time, and it is usually by a different person and often for an entirely different purpose than the current research purpose at hand. Then here we are in the advantages of this data. So the first advantage is easy of access. Most of the sources of secondary data are easily accessible to the researcher. They are usually available in libraries, bookstores, and can even be borrowed from other people. And then the second is inexpensive. The researchers do not have to spend money on investigation, and very little is spent on acquiring books, if any. So it is inexpensive. And then the third is time saving. The fourth is longitudinal and comparative studies. And the last is generating new insight, which means when re-evaluating data, especially through another person's lens or point of view, new things are uncovered. So there might be a thing that was not discovered in the past by the primary data collector, so the secondary data collection may reveal it. What about the disadvantages of this data? So, based on the data quality, the data collected through secondary sources may not be as authentic as when collected directly from the source. The second is irrelevant data. The third is exaggerated data. And the fourth is outdated information.
And the last from us is research example. In here, we use the title comparison of the number of English words produced by male and female students. The overview is this study will focus on examining the number of words produced by male and female students in the third grade junior high school in MTS Darul Hikmah Kertosono Nganjuk, which is consists of 30 students with 18 from female and 12 from males. The researchers use a live interview system by asking 5 questions related to lesson, child life, and hobbies. A student will be asked the same question at time and alternately. The result of the research will be looked at as reliability and validity. Research question in here is the first, which of the male and female student will produce the most number of English words? And the second is, can the result of the research to use as a reference for student ability to speak English? Hypothesis. The temporary hypothesis of this study may be more skewed that female students will more prominently produce higher scores. After a quick look at the subject, some of the analysis conducted by the researchers were female students in daily life more talk than male students. Moreover, female students in practice are more likely to learn English. Okay, thank you guys. That's all from us. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. And we are very sorry if we had a lot of misconception maybe or mistakes on pronouncing a word or mistakes on surfing the contents. And one more, we are only human who has sins and mistakes and forgot. So please forgive us. Thank you so much. Suma. Wassalamu.